When you think of church, the most common perspective is that it is a refuge, a place to run when life is traumatic or overwhelming. Unfortunately for my family, that perspective was false. My name is Darla Melancon. I'm the author of The Things I Learned After Being Kicked Out of Church. On May 21st, 2001, my youngest son came to me and told me that he'd been sexually molested by another member of our church. My husband and I turned to our pastors for help to work through the trauma. They gave us a don't talk rule and a just forgive directive. When that failed to satisfy us, in their words, they released us to find healing somewhere else. From our perspective, we were kicked out of church. I grew up in the church. My daddy was a pastor. This is not something I ever expected to happen to me or my family. And all of a sudden to find ourselves outside of the church was a shock. We weren't needed anymore because life in our family became traumatic. First and foremost, I wrote the book for those that had been wounded by the church and felt like God had abandoned them because the church did.
I have met a lot of people who have been wounded by pastors and leaders. They've left not only that particular church, but often they've left church altogether. And along with that, they've just left God. I would recommend it to people who have been wounded, who have been disillusioned, so that they can find out and how they can reconnect and have healing.
Looking back over centuries, I note many events in which the church misrepresented, slandered, and/or abused the character of God. And yet, like the father of the prodigal son, our Heavenly Father has not rejected or abandoned the church.
I definitely hear Darla talking to me. It's as if we're having coffee and she's just sharing what she learned in the scriptures or through a walk and what the Lord spoke to her. Her voice is evident throughout the book.
The book kind of helped me realize that through suffering and pain, there's always a healing process that takes place because God never leaves you. God is always there with you.
It's one thing to question, the church and to question God and to go through such traumatic events and then to write about it, to express it to the world. That was just extremely profound and extremely courageous also.
To see what God can do over a period of years in a family is just touching. It's really allowed me to see that the Lord is very capable of ministering to His sheep.
Remember, God is so patient that even after centuries of misrepresentation by the church, in which scriptures were twisted and used to justify everything from abusing individuals to starting wars, He has not abandoned those who seek Him. He will not abandon you either.